on actual show day in 2019 for the Olympia. And the prejudging was probably like the biggest moment for me, when I just like had this different mindset that I hadn't had in the last few years, where I like was confident that I had the ability to take it, and I stepped on stage with that confidence, and just like the feeling of going through that and through my poses, and just like that was like the best feeling overall, just knowing everything had fallen into place, all the work over the years, everything that's been leading up to this happened. I hit it, my posing felt good, everything just felt amazing. Night show were kind of coming around, and I was like back in my zone, like super into it. I was like, I have a chance of winning this. Got my head ready, was kind of listening to music, walking around, and then did the routine. That went through. I was still kind of in that super like mindset where I'm just feeling good. And then it was that same kind of situation as 2018, 2017, when you're standing on stage and they're calling out the names, and it's me and Breon beside each other, and it's the same thing. They call 5, 4, 3, and then it's me and Breon left standing there alone. And I remember just like, I literally think my mind went blank for a while. I was just kind of sitting there. I put my head down. I was just like holding my breath, pretty much. Nothing going in my brain, just like waiting for that moment.
And the title of 2019 Classic Olympia champion, Bumstead.
The first emotion I felt was just like a sense of like relief. When they say a weight lifted off your shoulders, that times a million. Like it was just this like feeling of just like freedom for a second. I was just like, holy shit. Everything leading up to this, like right here, it just paid off like that. Yeah, no, so in 2018, it was without a doubt the hardest and most like shaping year of my life, prep especially. Like when I think I was 3.5 weeks out, I just started to notice this like crazy water retention on my body. Didn't know what was going on. I put on like some like 15 pounds like in like 24 hours of just like water. So I ended up going to the hospital, and I was there for a total of 6.5 days or so. And they ended up doing a kidney biopsy at the end to kind of try and just the last thing to like figure out what's going on. And they took the kidney biopsy, they put me on some like diuretics, and I was on an IV sitting in there for that time. And obviously that sucks. I was 3.5 weeks out of prep from the Olympia. I'd come second last year, and everything was like perfect. My off season was perfect. I was the leanest, biggest I've ever started. I was healthy, training hard. Everything was just going so good. I'd never looked so good in my entire life.
Yeah.
The kidney biopsy came back, and it turns out I have an autoimmune disease. And it was something that had hit me a few times earlier in my life, but they never knew what was going on. It was never this severe. So then they were like, yeah, it's like autoimmune disease. You got to take these like corticosteroids to kind of suppress your immune system, this, that. It's totally manageable. You just got to be like cautious in everything you're doing. Definitely a hell experience to go through. But when I look back at it now, it certainly like prepares me for a lot in the future. It makes me understand like how strong I am and what I'm capable of. And it gives me strength to go through a lot more. Ottawa, like this is where I was raised. I was here my whole life. It's a lot of government workers. We got the parliament back there. A pretty like low-paced city where you kind of get your job, working 9 to 5, and you just roll with it like that. There isn't like the big fitness community. Social media is just kind of like sneaking in. You see someone vlogging in public, and it's like weird. Being in a city like this can help. It can almost drive you a little nuts when nothing's going on, and you kind of feel like you're like alone, or like not have a lot of people with similar interests. But when your goal is something that has to be so strict and on point, like bodybuilding, meals in, training, prepping, off-season, everything, and it has to be so regimented, it definitely does help. And one thing I will say, and like getting into this industry at a pretty young age and being relatively successful when I was young, it's kind of like a molding period in your life, where depending who you surround yourself with, who you're close with, will morph you into who you're meant to be or who you will become. And me, in that huge transition phase with so much changing in my life, staying in the town where I grew up with my high school friends, with my brother, my sister, my parents being here, it really kind of helped me stick to my core values of who I am as a person and not falling into like a circle of like other bodybuilders and fitness celebrities. I stuck to like my friends who knew me for who I was and have always liked me just for me.
Is
got off the phone with Chandler. So he's doing some quick updates with the app. So he's gonna have the phase 2 ready in the next probably like month or so.
Are they going to input like weight and activity levels and like a bunch of stuff, and it will give them a rough estimate of what they should be eating depending on their goal?
Yeah, so it'll be based on percentages, at least for what we have, you know, between you and I, what we discussed for the percentages. But yeah, so they're going to input like, you know, their activity level during the day, their age, their weight.
Thing outside of bodybuilding, because it's such a like monotonous daily routine where you almost do have a lot of free time, but you need that free time. I have a lot of respect for people to like chase kind of the entrepreneurial side of things and do like a little bit more and like creating their own thing. And that's kind of what pushed me into like a little bit more into the YouTube, which is a little bit more effort into that. So through that, I wanted to share with you guys as much as I could. So a lot of people love seeing workout material, and I wanted to kind of give you guys something I never had coming up training in a more structured program, and it's truly look inside my day-to-day workouts. And that's kind of where this app we came out with, where you guys literally see what I'm doing every single day or what I've trained the day before, and you guys get to follow along the same program. And the whole goal was to like build a community where we can share my knowledge and you guys again learn from my mistakes and share each other's knowledge, and you kind of connect through the passion we all share, which is lifting and training and eating and the whole bodybuilding aspect of it all. It literally took me being in second year of university and qualifying for the Olympia, coming second place, getting a sponsor, having a couple 100,000 followers on Instagram to be like, oh shit, maybe I can actually make something of this life. Maybe I can kind of like focus on this and then do it. So it's definitely something I think getting into it, it's gotta be for the right reasons. A question people always ask me is like, what does it take to become like you? Like, how do I get in your position? How do I get sponsored? How do I get this and that? And it's something that you can't really get into this sport with that goal in mind to like, I want to be famous. You can't want to be famous, especially if your goal is like, if you want to compete, you got to love competing and you got to love training. The base has to be that you love fitness, you love training, and you have a story and you're sharing it, you're being yourself, and then everything else will either come or it won't. I never had the intention when I started this of ever really giving a shit about social media or being famous or anything. I loved training, I loved competing. I never even really thought about going pro until like the year I did. And then I never thought of going to Olympia until the year I did. It was just kind of like one step at a time, what's ahead of me, and just that love for training.